Welcome to 𝗩𝗲𝗹𝗁𝘁𝗀𝗃, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support my show and get help growing your houseplants, check out my Patreon below. Today, a plant care video for one of my absolute favorite plants. I know I say I have a lot of favorite plants. Well, this one really is one of my absolute favorite plants. You can probably tell by looking at it why. This is purple velvet plant. It's botanically known as Gynura. And I just, as mentioned, love this plant. If you want to grow an eye-catching, gorgeous plant in your indoor garden, purple velvet plant, also known as purple passion vine, is a great choice. This lovely plant is native to the Indonesian island Java. Though it appears that the serrated leaves are purple, it turns out that they are actually green but are covered with a velvety soft purple fuzz that gives the plant its purple color and its softness. And I assure you, it's really soft plant, probably one of the softest plants out there, so it's really nice to touch. Purple velvet plant is a trailing vining plant that in its native habitat will eventually grow 2 feet tall and spread to 4 feet wide. In the indoor garden, the plant is ideal as a hanging basket plant or cascading from high locations such as the top of a bookshelf. Or you can train the plant up a small trellis. Generally, young purple velvet plants will start out upright, but then as they grow, they will eventually trail. Though the plant is very exotic looking, it is fairly easy to grow if you keep the following growing tips in mind. And please see the timestamps below if you want to skip to any particular sections. Okay, so lighting. For best growth, give purple velvet plant bright indirect light. Lack of adequate light will cause the plant to lose its purple coloration as the purple hairs are sensitive to correct lighting. Place the plant in an area that gets good lighting, such as an unobstructed eastern window or 3 to 4 feet from a southern window. Northern windows don't provide enough light. If you lack enough light in your home, purple velvet plant also does well under full spectrum lighting. It's especially important to provide them with supplemental lighting during the winter months when light levels are low. Okay, so watering is the next. Purple velvet plant needs a regular supply of water, and the soil should remain moist but not soggy. Water when the moisture meter reads 4 or when the top inch of soil has dried out. Too much water will lead to root rot. However, too little will cause the color to fade on the plant and leaves to turn brown and dry out. So you really need to get a good balance with this plant. Always use warm water when watering purple velvet plant and all house plants. And never let the bottom of the pot sit in water, as that can lead to soggy soil and root rot. You will find that purple velvet plant drinks much more slowly during the winter months, so be careful not to overwater during this time when the plant has slowed down growth. At the same time, if you dry the plant out occasionally, it will generally spring back. So, fertilizing. Fertilize purple velvet plant monthly, spring through fall, with an organic fertilizer. Chemical fertilizers are way too harsh for this plant and many houseplants, and I generally don't recommend them. Don't fertilize in the winter months when the plant slows down growth. Humidity. Purple velvet plant is native to an island that experiences high humidity, so you want to provide sufficient humidity for the plant or it will experience dried leaf edges and leaf loss. The ideal humidity range is 50 to 65%. Test your indoor environment with a hygrometer. I have videos on hygrometers and how to use them. I'll put a link below for those videos as well as any other videos I mention in this video. If your humidity is 45% or lower on a regular basis, you might want to use a humidifier, which I do have a video on as well, to keep these plants happy and good looking. Grouping also helps keep the humidity higher as houseplants humidify each other. Do not, however, mist purple velvet plant, as the fine hairs will trap the moisture and this can lead to leaf spotting fungal diseases. So as far as the various ways to humidify, misting is the one you're not going to want to do. Additionally, if you do use a humidifier, you do want the plant to be several feet away from the humidifier so that the foliage does not get a fine mist on it. Temperature for purple velvet plant. Given that the plant is native to a warm climate, purple velvet plant does not do well with cold weather. Grow the plant in areas of the home ranging from 65 to 85 degrees. That's the ideal range. The warmer, the better. When purple velvet plant gets too cold, it will begin to falter, dropping leaves and slowing down growth and looking generally unhappy. Repotting. Purple velvet plant should be repotted when it has surpassed my rule of thumb of 2/3 plant on top to 1/3 pot below. So if you've got 3/4 plant and 1/4 pot, then it's time to repot. Because once this plant surpasses that ratio, and I have a video on that ratio, I actually mention that in several videos I will link, but once the plant surpasses that and it gets too big for its pot, it will stop growing and can become stressed, and that's something you don't want to happen with this plant. However, only go up 1 pot size maximum, because you don't want it in too big of a pot, because then you're going to risk root rot. Repot spring through mid-summer. Use a high-quality organic potting soil with an added drainage such as pumice or perlite. The stems of this plant are weak, so when you are repotting, be very careful so that you don't break them. This plant is in a pot that is a good ratio in terms of 2/3 plant to 1/3 pot, but it's a plastic pot, and it is in a catch pot, this outer decorative ceramic pot, so which looks a little bigger than the 2/3 1/3. So I just want to mention that in case you're looking at the ratio there. So it is in the ideal ratio. Okay, so, and this is something you can do, use the outer catch pots up. As you can see, this one has pretty dragonflies on it and some purple and some green, so it really is a nice place for this beautiful plant. It shows off the beauty of the plant even more. Okay, so pruning purple velvet plant. If you'd like to keep your purple passion plant, which is, as mentioned, another name for it, more compact rather than trailing, pinch off the ends of vines back to a set of leaves. This will cause the plant to branch more and become shrubbier rather than vining. When grown in bright light, purple velvet plant can sometimes flower. This starts out as a dark lilac bud in late summer that flowers with orange blooms. If buds occur, it's best to prune them off before they open because the flowers have an unpleasant smell. And that generally doesn't go over too well in an indoor garden. And also keep in mind that the flowers are an indication that the plant is maturing, becoming very mature, becoming old, and it could be ending its life cycle. These plants are fairly short-lived. They live for 3 to 5 years. So what you want to do when you suspect the plant is getting older, or just so you can have a continual supply of these beauties in your indoor garden, is to take cuttings of the plant. It can be propagated in water or by stem. I have videos on both processes, the hard stem or water, and I have videos, as mentioned, on both processes. I will link all of those below. So, and also keep in mind that when you do prune off those flowers early and you maintain good growing practices, you can extend the life of the plant. Pests and diseases. Root rot, as mentioned, can occur if you overwater this plant and keep it in soggy soil. Overwatering can also cause leaf spotting diseases, where you'll get brown spots on the leaves, and that's a fungal infection also caused by too much moisture, and it can really devastate a plant. As for pests, you may occasionally see mealybugs, spider mites, and or scale. Scale isn't as common, however. Treat mealybugs and scale with isopropyl alcohol 91% to get them off, and neem oil to prevent them from the eggs from hatching and the cycle continuing. Spider mites are best treated with insecticidal soap spray. Keep in mind also that spider mites thrive in dry conditions, so amping up the humidity will help prevent them and keep them at bay. So there you go for how to grow this gorgeous, gorgeous plant. As mentioned, one of my absolute favorites. It's so soft and velvety, and the colors, purple is one of my favorite colors too, so that helps as well. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.